Jesus said, "What is born of the flesh is flesh. What is born of the Spirit is spirit." This undermines all sorts of racism. But I want to talk about a particularly nefarious form of racism that's alive and well in the world today. I'm not talking about DEI and the racism against whites. That is very pernicious and needs to be debunked. But I'm talking about what may be even more pernicious. The idea that the Jews are undermining civilization, they are destroying values that should be shared by all of us. They're out to take over the world. We find this on the left and on the right. On the left, there's the pro-Palestinian movement, which talks about how Palestinians are being exterminated, quote unquote, in Gaza, and says nothing about the Hamas and their attempt to exterminate the Israelis. But on the right, there's the idea that Jewish bloodlines going back to the 6th century or so, they're not real Jews according to this theory, that they are seeking, they have been in control of the narrative the whole time. There undoubtedly are very powerful people at the top of the pecking order who are seeking to wipe out 90% of the human race and to enslave the rest. This is undoubtedly true. But to ascribe this to the Jews is racism in the worst form. Yes, some of them are Jews, probably, and some of them are nominally Christian. Most in their hearts are atheists who crave power, absolute domination. But they aren't any particular bloodline. They may be families, but they will turn against their own when anybody in the family decides to opt out of their evil ways. This was true with John Fitzgerald Kennedy. It's been true with many more. But this is an example of both sidesism. And it isn't just the left and the right are equally responsible for violence. It's clear that the political left has opted for the path of violence in pursuit of its aims. Whereas on the right, well, the left continues to call conservatives Nazis and fascists and calls their leaders, Hitlers and so on. Whereas the right is tending to forgive their enemies and seek common ground in prayer and in unity. But there's another kind of both sidesism that says that the left and the right are two wings of the same bird, and they're both in control, ultimately, of those aforementioned powerful people in the world, sometimes associated with the Jews and sometimes not. And so it doesn't matter how you vote or which side you choose. It's all part of their plan to take control of the world. This is a both sidesism that ultimately doesn't make any sense at all. And again, we can look to Jesus and Abraham Lincoln for the reason why. A house divided against itself cannot stand. A kingdom divided against itself will fall. If Satan works against himself, then how can he survive? How can he win? We have to look at what people do, not impose our theories to make ourselves feel that we're above it all and we know exactly what's going on. We don't. We don't have that kind of certainty. We don't have it through science. We don't have it through religion. We just don't have objective certainty. We don't have subjective certainty, except in our own delusion. This desire to convince ourselves that we know what's really going on is about self-deception. It comes from a place of insecurity and fear. Well, Jesus also said, perfect love casts out fear. So the cure to this, as to everything else, is to live in this perfect love. And we have to explore what that means, because it's not obvious to people in the darkness of this world what love is really about. We'll go further into that in future episodes.